Japan.
Where proud, industrious workers fed the great Asian tiger.
Where the bubble economy was first blown.
This is Japan.
But is it Japanorama?
No! This is...
Japanorama.
Japanorama!
時間がありません、キャップ。
どれまだか。あともう少しです。
やめるんだ。謝って済むことじゃないのは分かってる。
Hello, konnichiwa, and welcome to Japanorama, launching a kamikaze assault on the battleship of your senses. And I promise you, by the end of tonight's program, you will be begging for mora, mora, mora. Because tonight, we'll be looking at the Japanese maestros of science fiction and fantasy. And speaking as someone who is devoted to robots of all types and sizes, although I probably shouldn't speak that way about the management of the BBC, I can promise you a humdinger of a high-tech hootenanny. Kill you, Mr. Robot. Hello.
Japan is the land where science fiction becomes fact. Technology has not only made Japan rich, but it also pervades the work of the country's media artists, game designers, animators and filmmakers. Yet the Japanese have a love-hate relationship with technology. It alienates them from the natural world they cherish and jeopardizes their very existence. This ambivalence is reflected in Japanese sci-fi. Sure, it looks and smells great, but such a bitter aftertaste.
Japanorama.
But let's start with some sci-fi where the only message is fun. Ultraman, Japan's biggest superhero. Ultraman is filmed on the outskirts of Tokyo.
I am delighted to be on the set of Ultraman Cosmos, the latest in the long-running series of Ultraman TV shows, which have been going in this country for about 36 years and are sold to over 50 countries around the world, but not, for some reason that escapes me, to the United Kingdom. What's wrong? What has Bob the Builder got that Ultraman is lacking? Could someone please explain that to me? Jeez.
It was back in 1966 that the series first appeared on Japanese television. It featured a special agency called the Science Patrol that battled huge monsters. Each week, a member of the Science Patrol would mutate into a colossal superhero. Ultraman! And through the years, as monsters have continued to threaten our planet, Ultraman has always been there to save us. Ultraman is over 200 feet tall, though this impressive height is partially achieved by the use of miniature sets. Ultraman's only weakness is that his powers last for just 3 minutes. 3 minutes! Crikey! Even hearsay lasted longer than that. In over 400 episodes, at least 27 different Ultramen plus one Ultra Woman have saved us from over 350 monsters. Kazuo Mitsuda has been directing Ultraman since the 1960s.
Mitsuda-san, I'm a big fan of Ultraman, so it is a great pleasure to meet you. Let me start by asking you, what do you think makes a good Ultraman fight? What do the fans want to see?
We get some ideas from watching pro wrestling and some from karate. I think that all fans expect the hero to win.
One of Mitsuda-san's earliest works was Ultraman vs. Aquila.
Aquila looked a little bit like Godzilla. Are they related?
It was originally Godzilla. We didn't have enough budget to make a new costume. So we had to borrow Godzilla from Toho Film Company.
So as the new director, you had hand-me-down monsters, but you did a lovely job with it. I like the frill around his neck. I seem to remember in one Ultraman, doesn't Ultraman whip it off and then use it like a cape? Who would be tougher? Who would be best in a fight? Ultraman or Godzilla?
That is a difficult question. I believe that Ultraman is stronger.
Certainly Ultraman is better dressed. Do you have a favorite monster that Ultraman fought?
My favorite monster from Ultraman is Geronimon.
Wow, so that's Geronimon there. He looks like a very angry chicken.
I got his name from the head of the Apache tribe.
Who is this guy? This... It kind of looks like a kissing monster. Would kiss Ultraman to death. Mitsuru-san, this is the one I think is the scariest of them all, but I don't know why. Perhaps you can tell me who he is and where he's from.
This is Buska, a mutated iguana. I was the director for this series. Many people say that this monster model was me.
Now I know why you're wearing the cap. You're hiding the 3 bubbles, aren't you? Ah. Help me. Mitsuru-san, donmo arigatou gozaimasu.
Japanorama.
My name is Shinya Tsukamoto. This is Tokyo.
Tsukamoto-san is the director of Tetsuo, the Iron Man.
Let's get in a cab and go.
I'll never forget the first time I saw Tetsuo back in 1988. I won't say I was disturbed, but let's just say I was still twitching madly several hours later. And those were back in the days when I used public transportation, so you can just imagine the scene. Tetsuo takes place in a world where flesh and metal have merged, and the result is not pretty. Even the sex scenes are thoroughly anti-erotic. For someone like me, who loves technology with a passion, Tetsuo was a long, sharp shock.
Around about that time, there was a movement among writers and film directors called cyberpunk. For instance, Blade Runner by Ridley Scott or Videodrome by David Cronenberg. In my case, I wanted symbolically to depict the modern relationship between humans and technology. Tetsuo was a unification of metal and human flesh. The concept was to express anxieties within me that can't be explained in words. But I also wanted to make something erotic as well.
And what could be more erotic than a spot of DIY?
When a human turns into metal, I suppose his willy becomes metal as well. You see, the female audience gets scared because often women are the victims in horror films. I wanted to use that. This was a kind of parody of the horror genre.
Tsukamoto continued his obsession with man and metal in the 1992 sequel, Tetsuo 2, Body Hammer. He shot this one in colour and threw in, by my reckoning, at least 30% more wires.
Humans and technology are getting ever so closely attached. It feels like technology is part of our brain.
Tetsuo 2 ends when a mutated man-tank destroys Tokyo.
The reason I want to destroy Tokyo, and also why I destroy Tokyo in my films, is I grew up in Tokyo, in an era of massive economic growth in Japan. I grew up in this concrete jungle. As I grew older and older, the buildings got taller and taller. In a sense, I feel quite attached to the skyscrapers. At the same time, though, I feel cramped by this overgrown concrete jungle. I have this desire to destroy Tokyo, this great city, make it back into a playing field, and play in it like I used to. Well, that was Tokyo. I see you later. Tara!
When you think of sci-fi video games, you might think of the lethal mech warriors of Steel Battalions, or the anime-inspired blaster Gun Valkyrie, or even the wave-influenced Res, in which you create music while you kill. But the surprise hit in Japan is Space Channel 5, in which you have to match an increasingly complex series of dance moves to save you and your pals from alien robots. The creator of Space Channel, as well as Res, is Tetsuya Mizuguchi, Japan's teen idol game designer.
I think the game is it's like the sponge of the human desire.
At Space Channel Jamborees, a real-life version of the curvy Oolala, Space Channel's funky heroine, undulates for fans. Some fans dress as Oolala, checking their J-phones for the latest Oolala news. The object is to push the controller buttons and mimic the rhythms laid down by your robot masters. If you do it well, you save the hostage dancers and they join your team.
Let's dance.
One of Space Channel's biggest fans is a pretty mean dancer himself. Now a part of the game, he actually can heal the world with his space dancing.
We need to save our galaxy, Oolala.
Space Michael is the director of Space Channel 5. So it means that he's the boss of Oolala.
Are you ready?
That's really exciting, huh?
Let's dance.
Michael, slide aside for the pop idol of the new millennium, Mitsuguchi-san.
Japanorama.
So what do Japanese manners hold in store for us in the future? Well, I could tell you, but I suspect my friends will get so angry they'd beat you to a pulp. So instead, just remember, to predict the future, you must first understand the present. So here's a Japanese etiquette lesson for you.
This week, we will be looking at how to enter a room. You say "excuse me" outside before you enter, instead of knocking on the door European style. This is to give the person inside the room time to prepare themselves. You should not slide the door all at once. Instead, you should open it slowly, in 2 or 3 stages. If there is no difference in level between entrance and room, you should enter the room from this kneeling position, and that is how to enter a room.
The menu of Japanese sci-fi anime runs the gamut from sweet to sour, and perhaps the best of those extremes are Astro Boy and Akira. In the 1960s, a manga artist named Osamu Tezuka gave birth to a series that changed the face of anime, Astro Boy. It's the story of a scientist who loses his son in a car accident, then creates a robot boy to take his place. Astro Boy is programmed for good behaviour, but he's no substitute for a child, and so the scientist sells him to the cruel ringmaster of a robot circus. When Astro Boy escapes the circus, he joins the fight for interplanetary goodness. Astro Boy was the first Japanese anime to play overseas. It has heart, it has action, it's Astro-rific.
375. We've got reports of biker gangs fighting near the intersection of...
It wasn't until years later, however, that an anime would score big at the box office. It was Katsuhiro Otomo's 1988 feature, Akira, and it was certainly no Astro Boy.
I'm coming!
Set in a post-apocalyptic Tokyo, Akira is about a juvenile delinquent who's arrested by the military and made an experimental subject in a secret government program to replicate Akira, the human bioweapon that destroyed Tokyo. Packed with hyperkinetic chase scenes, Akira turns even bleaker when our hero accidentally causes Tokyo to be wiped out yet again. Yes, it's a bit grim, but hey, just look at all that exhilarating destruction. So what does the post-apocalyptic future hold? Benevolent boy robots or total annihilation? Let's hope it's a little bit of both.
Well, we're well into our sci-fi extravaganza, so I thought I'd take a moment out to give you some information about the technological advances in robotics in this country and the kind of robots they're currently working on in Japan. Essentially, they're full of electronical stuff, and they're very, very cool. If you'd like to know more, I'm sure that's possible. Here's some of the great stuff we've got coming up for you.
Japanorama.
Coming up, animator Oshi comes out of his shell. Say hello to your future robot masters. And Tokyo's top tranny in a sci-fi sex film. Who's the man? He's the man. Anime director Mamoru Oshii. Oshii's masterwork is Ghost in the Shell, set in the year 2029.
Her brain was hacked into through a data line. Foreign intelligence warned us about this. A hacker called the Puppet Master has begun to infiltrate terminals throughout our network.
The world is one huge database, and a renegade computer program is trying to transform into a living being.
What's with all the noise in your brain today?
Must be a loose wire.
Major Motoko turns detective when she discovers she's a mass-produced shell and she must look for her ghost or soul. Many claim this film, which was a hit in America, inspired The Matrix.
When
Ghost in the Shell became #1 in America, someone put a newspaper cutting on the wall of our studio, but no one read it. The field of animation in Japan is very different from the American counterpart. No one really cares about how much we sell, the stuff like that. As long as we create things we want to create and do what we want to do, that's what we care about.
His fantasies encompass a world of alienated humans, swamped by technology, in a world greater than them.
Technology frightens me, though it is also very important to me. I sometimes want to be a computer myself, but at the same time, I really get frightened by it.
In the final scene of Ghost in the Shell, technology, in a sense, devours itself.
I find that scene really erotic. That's what eroticism is. If I say this, I might sound funny and might give you the wrong idea, but self-destruction is what I find erotic. I'm totally satisfied with that scene.
The king of anime is moving on. Oshii recently completed his first live-action film, Avalon. Avalon reverses the machine becomes human theme of Ghost in the Shell. In it, a video game fanatic devotes her life to reaching the highest level of a realistic battle game. When she gets there, she herself then becomes part of the game.
Avalon is a representation of my fantasy world. I'd love to live in a world like that. I employed everything that interests me in my life, such as dogs, computers, games, guns, tanks, and helicopters. There were 3 tanks used in the film. They went away on the 5th day of shooting. As they were taken away by a trailer, I felt like crying.
Oddly enough, a decidedly low-tech basset hound is the key image for this post-modern cyber extravaganza. The droopy doggy is Oshi's greatest passion, and he had to scour Poland, where Avalon was shot, to find a pooch for the film.
I see a lot of similarities between basset hounds and me. They are not in the mood for anything. All they think about is food. They are really relaxed and laid back. They are friendly and harmless, and live aimlessly. I love those attributes. I feel I'm a reincarnation of a basset hound. But perhaps I just want to be a basset hound. I've got mixed feelings about that.
Japanorama. オムロンが開発したネコロは
It should be obvious by now that Japan plans to conquer the world, but not through firepower. Oh no, the master plan is to infiltrate all that we hold dear, beginning of course with our love for animals. At over 1,000 pounds, this robotic cat does almost everything a real cat can do. It can even pretend to care about you. If the Japanese have their way, one day all our pets will be robots, and all our friends too. This is Sony's SDR X4. It may look innocent enough, but in fact, it's more of a worry. This is the creator of the SDR, Dr. Doi. In the 1980s, he stripped us of our beloved vinyl when he invented the compact disc. In the 90s, he signed Aibo, the robot dog. So what's your next ploy, Dr. Doi?
We are targeting this kind of autonomous robot to be a partner of human beings.
The SDR has been programmed to recognize voices and faces and to simulate emotions.
ごめんなさい。痛いよ。大丈夫？
心配してくれてどうもありがとう。A lot of people consider, for instance, teddy bear as a partner. Why not the autonomous robot cannot be a partner?
私の名前は二宮です。
お友達になってくれますか?
At £20,000, who can afford the SDR? That's right, the power elite. It's all part of the plan. Honda has spent around $60 million developing this bruiser, Asimo. He's not tomorrow's robo-soldier, is he? Rearrange the letters and Asimo replies, I am so. You like football? Well, enjoy it while you can, because this is RoboCup, a showdown for footy-mad robots, and yet another chance for Aibo, Sony's top dog, to worm its way into our hearts. Aibo isn't great at football, but he helps mask the real threat, the two-legged robots whose creators have big plans for them.
You want to have a robot team which can beat the human team.
This is Dr. Kitano, project director of Kitano Symbiotic Systems and president of the RoboCup Federation.
The robot have to be proven to be very safe, not going to endanger the human beings. And then if they do, soccer has like a rule, have the yellow card and red card, and we're not going to be able to win.
Dr. Kitano's humanoid is Pino, short for Pinocchio. Pino is being packaged like a pop idol, starring in this video by super starlet Utada Hikaru. Where is this whole You Will Love Pino campaign going?
The question is whether Pino will get the Academy Award in the future. That would be an interesting open question.
This is Dr. Kitano's protege, Matsui-san. He's a man with a plan. And this is his creation, Posy, Pino's little sister, dancing at a glamorous perfume launch. Matsui-san has his own vision of the Holy Grail bot.
I want Posey to be the most beautiful creature, one that in the future will be able to dance with the prima donna at the opera in Paris. And to do this, Posey will need a human emotions system, which will take me 30 years to build.
At the moment, Posey looks more like an upmarket drinks trolley than the next Margot Fontaine, but she still has a mesmeric effect on her partners.
I felt as if the robots actually had a soul. Every time we rehearsed, they really started to give back some response. I began to quite feel attached to them, as if they were my sisters or daughters.
If Matsui-san's appeal to the heartstrings fails, he'll conquer by fear. This is Pinot Noir.
I wanted to experiment how far I can push people's discomfort by introducing freaky robots. Intentionally, I made the robot's skin jet black and gave it a facial expression that would evoke gloomy feelings.
3 scientists, 1 vision. Infiltrate and eradicate. Don't say I didn't warn you. This is Iku from Taiwanese media artist Xu Li Chang. Sexy humanoid replicants collect orgasm data from humans. This data is programmed into the Iku internet server. With it, one can log right in and attain orgasm, bypassing that messy sex stuff. It has characters like the rope man and the slave mistress. And this is Margaret.
The world that is depicted in the film is a sexually fulfilled kingdom. You can buy orgasm tablets. My role is a drag queen who can have ecstasy without physical contact with anybody. She's an old-fashioned lover who longs for true romance. And the two of us have mental sex without physical contact, but still experience ecstasy.
The film's title, Iku, means I'm coming in Japanese, so be careful when asking for it in a Tokyo video shop.
What Xu Li probably wanted to show in the film was the peculiarity of Japan, in which deviated sexual styles and cross-genderism are all tolerated.
Bang on, Japan.
Well, we've seen a lot of futuristic people and things, but what have we actually learned, aside from the fact that Japanese robots will probably replace us all? Although, on a personal note, I'm hoping that it'll be some time before they can perfect a smart, suited, cheeky, cockney sort of TV host robot. I think we've learned the following. That smell is me, madam. Thank you for notice. Oyasumi nasai. Good night.
Sex in Japan up next on BBC Choice.